Hatchett, your question? Oh, sorry, I'm trying to make your button come on. Try number, phone a friend, try number 11.
I was going to ask what, and I'm trying to read the bill, and this is a friendly question because I do support the idea and everything, but what would constitute a participant? What type of victim are we trying to protect here? Because I just don't see the definition of, and I may be missing it, like what specifically, which victims are we going to use this for?
Sure. If you could, I can point to it here. It runs between 44 and 47. So they're affirming, the person would be affirming that they're at increased risk and that they have been of physical harm, or that they're a person who's a victim of domestic violence, dating violence, sexual assault, stalking, or human trafficking. So we've spelled that out there.
Okay. I just missed that. Thank you.
No worries.
Absolutely. Thank you, Madam Chair. You allowed me to catch my breath. I ran all the way over here. And I'm not at my, my prime weight. I probably need to lose a little bit. But to the author of the bill, y'all can laugh. It's all right. One of the ways when you talked about this bill, are you familiar with the Grace Commission that was established by First Lady Marty Kemp? Do you envision that the Grace Commission is a way that we could get the information out about this bill? Because if it passes, this would go hand in hand with some of the things that I have seen come out of the Grace Commission. And because those facilities are kept private and some of the knowledge, they would know who those providers are and who would be in the network, and they would be able to get this information out to get the right people on board and trained. Is that not about correct?
Yeah, that's exactly right. Thank you, Senator Mallow. We really are grateful for the work of the Grace Commission, and they would certainly be huge partners in this work.
Thank you, Senator.
Senator Burns.
Thank you, Madam Chair, and I thank the Senator for bringing this legislation. I certainly support it, and I'm grateful for your interest. I just have a question dealing with the confidential address and then the designated address, and I appreciate it being in the Secretary of State's office. My question relates to voter registration. So please explain how this person would still be able to register and vote appropriately in the designated precinct that they reside in.
That's right. So the way that this program could work, now the Secretary of State will promulgate the rules, right? But this is based on what we know other states, how they function. The Secretary of State, because they're the ones who are running this program, excuse me, they're the ones who are forwarding the people their mail to their actual correct address. So they have their address. So they would be able to do that. And here's the brass tacks. You go to register to vote. Let's say you live in DeKalb County, but you've got your designated address, which is a Fulton County address, because that's where the Secretary of State's office is. Go to Fulton County. Fulton County, they're going to look at that address and be like, oh, this is a confidentiality address. And so they will then contact the Secretary of State's office, and the Secretary of State's office would be able to tell the people, here's where they need to register for. This is their precinct. This is their location. So it's a really wonderful kind of closed loop system, though, where people will maintain their confidentiality, but that they are placed in their proper precinct and make sure that they vote appropriately, even though their public address is Fulton County. They might live, they might live way out there where Bo lives.
If I may, sure. Madam Chair, will the confidential address be the Secretary of State's office, or will it be another area anywhere in the state? Does the individual designate that address?
No, the Secretary of State's office would designate the address. It may not be the Secretary of State's office. It may be a third-party vendor that they may choose to use, or another location. But it would be everybody who is in that program would have the same address. All the mail is going to go to that same address.
That one address, the designated address would be a centralized address, and that entity in the Secretary of State entity would know what the actual individual's address is.
That's right.
But it would be confidential.
Right. So everybody will be assigned a code or a number. So it's kind of like we have a driver's license number. So everyone who's in this program is assigned a number, and then the Secretary of State's office would see the name associated with that number and then send it to the right location.
One additional question. How many individuals do you anticipate needing to utilize this option? Got a figure?
We do. So the National Association of Address Confidentiality Programs, out of the 42 states, they have about 30 member programs. And in 2022, they found that there were about 44,000 people registered in address confidentiality programs across the country.
Across the nation.
Yes, and on average, states were carrying about 1,000 that year. Newer states had fewer folks.
Right. Thank you. That just gives me some relative number. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Any other questions from the committee? We do have some people signed up to testify, so if you guys want to just sit
Absolutely.
on the
Thank you.
church pew there. And first we have
I think
Kramer
it's probably me.
already been talking, right?
Well, I do have a couple things I'd
Okay.
like to share if it's okay. The gravity of what we're asking survivors to do when they come forward to share their stories of experiencing domestic violence and stalking and trafficking, it's really not lost on me. This is definitely a full circle moment. We've had a couple of survivors who wanted to be here today, and by dint of circumstance, they weren't able to. So if it pleases the committee, I would really love to read one of the survivors' stories.
If you can
Very
keep
briefly.
it fairly brief,
Very
because we are
briefly.
already 30 minutes behind schedule, and we have a hard stop for the room, so.
Understood.
Go ahead.
This is a survivor who was born and raised in Georgia. She is a PhD and a licensed professional counselor, and she goes by the name of Dr. J. When it started, I had no idea I was being groomed, from the planned rape and community scapegoating to severe physical and emotional violence to financial abuse to being trafficked to being stalked over the course of many years. My faith in anything meant to offer hope or refuge was continually and utterly destroyed as I was made more and more invisible. My sense of safety had not been only violated, but it was repeatedly confiscated from me with any effort I made to be free. Miraculously and improbably, I would become one of the few who was rescued to emerge a survivor, but not without grave consequences. After being forced to move time and again across county lines, and just when I thought I had made it to shore, I found out that this person crossed county lines as well and found his way to begin living right down the street from me. It is a miracle that I am alive today. It is also a miracle that I am still not being held captive by my abuser. I do not care to spend my days constantly startled, looking over my shoulder. Some people without transformation will never stop. No one should have to try and build their own safety plan, go into hiding, or have someone with them at all times. I still have to do everything in my power to prevent my abuser from discovering where I live. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Jill Shirley?
Hey, good afternoon. I'm Jill Sherling. I work for Partnership Against Domestic Violence as their Director of Legal Advocacy. I co-run the Safe Families office across the hall at the courthouse. If any of y'all want to visit, you're more than welcome, with Atlanta Volunteer Lawyer Foundation. But I just
Could you speak a little bit closer to the mic?
Yeah,
Thank you.
sorry. I co-run that office with Grace Powell, who is for Atlanta Volunteer Lawyer Foundation. But I just wanted to talk a little bit about a client I had. I'll be quick. I know you guys are in a hurry today. I had a client who came in, got a TPO for her and her children. She was able to move and begin a new life and leave her abuser behind. Unfortunately, he was able to find her address online through one of those little things where you pay $3 and you can get anybody's address you want. So he found her house and came and shot up her home with her and her children in it. We were very lucky at the time that we had funding to move her and her children again, but that may not always be the case for all of our clients, depending on where our funding sits. And worse, if he had actually hit one of the kids or her. So yeah, that's just why I think this is an important thing to get done. I myself, as someone who had domestic violence in the home, I am just very lucky and probably standing in front of you today that it was pre what the internet is today. So yeah, thank you. Does anybody have questions? Okay, all right. Thank you so much, guys.
Thank you very much. And end party?
Hello, my name is actually Janae Farmer. Natalie Purdy is a worker for DFACS, and she got called into an emergency hearing. Is it okay if I speak on her behalf? Her testimony reads as follows. My name is Natalie Purdy, and I'm a survivor who was stabbed over 30 times. My abuser pleaded temporary insanity and served no jail time. I moved several times, and this was before social media, and he found me and would stalk me. Later, with fear, I was a surprise witness, and he was sentenced. I still live in fear today because he has access in jail to know where I am. Tomorrow, I have a meeting with the parole board, and I am still fearing for my life. This bill will help me and my children, my family, friends, his other victims, and the community. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Commissioner Ross?
Good afternoon, members of the committee. My name is April Ross. I'm the Executive Director of the Georgia Commission on Family Violence. I work often with these good folks in the room that have already testified. And I'll just add briefly that, stalking is very often a companion of all of the above, from human trafficking to domestic violence to sexual assault. It's a companion to many of those things. It intersects frequently, more than we know. As a former prosecutor, I can certainly say that stalking is not charged in our state as much as it should be. The activities of stalking are often not always criminal. It's the pattern that builds up and leads to the ability to charge, but it's so easy for it to fly under the radar. Add that to the addition of technology and the frequency of technology abuse today, and the need for this program is immense. So we are here as the commission to lend our support to this bill. We've endorsed it as a commission, and we are willing to support. I certainly appreciate that the senator has built in a delayed start or enactment for the bill. I think that it's necessary, not only in terms of the appropriations, but also in terms of the implementation and the members that will need to work together to bring this to fruition for our residents in Georgia. I do have just a handful of statistics I'll share with you. 40% of stalking victims are stalked by a current or former intimate partner. 74% of those stalked by a former intimate partner have reported violence in the relationship. 81% of women stalked by a current or former intimate partner also experience physical violence or sexual assault. And I'll just say, for the record, again, I can lend a personal experience to this as well. I, too, am here today as someone who has a lived experience with stalking. In an attempt to leave my own marriage, stalking played a part in why I'm also in this chair for today. So stalking happens, and people don't always know how to get resources and what help there is. So one more resource in Georgia to help victims of stalking get safely away from somebody who's motivated to do them harm would certainly lend us some assistance in the work that we do every day. Thank you.
Thank you very much. And we do have a letter in your folder from the commission. Did you have a question? Anybody have questions? Okay. Any other questions for the author? We don't have anybody else signed up to speak for Oregon's.
Thanks, Senator Jackson, for this bill. This is, I think, I appreciate the purpose of this, and I hope it'll do a lot of good. But my question was, you mentioned earlier, or someone mentioned earlier, about changing the effective date. Is that with the language we're looking at now, or is that's the correct date we want is 2026?
Yeah.
Okay, I just want to make sure that we had the correct date.
Okay, I'm not seeing any other questions, so this is the appropriate time for motion.
Thank you, Madam Chair. The senator from the second moves do pass.
Okay, Senator Estivez, second. Okay, any further discussion? Okay, all in favor, please raise your hand. Any opposed? Okay, the bill passes unanimously. Thank you very much. Okay, our next bill, Senator Kauser, you want to step up? We've got Senate Bill 520, and I know you're an expert on this. So, okay, yeah. Yeah, she's very familiar to us, Ms. Quick from DHS. So thank you both for being here, and go right ahead.
Thank you. My library.
You are.
All right. Thank you for having me here. This is a bill to assist in the collection of child support in a variety of circumstances. The intent of this bill is to conform our state law to federal law in child support enforcement actions. The Office of Management and Budget at the federal level has created a specific form, and you should have one in your file that they use in the child support collection cases. It should be noted that's important because a lot of federal funds are used with child support recovery agencies, and they're required to follow OMB rules. Social Security Act requires this as well, and so employers are essentially instructed to reject any attempts to withhold income payments, salary to pay to child support, unless it's accompanied by this form. And this is referenced in section 2 of this bill. You'll see on, help me out here, on page 2, line 33, it references the income withholding notice. That is this form that is attached to it. So the code section will be referencing this form and allow you to submit this to an employer or anybody else that is holding assets or income of a person that owes child support, so that it can be collected more easily. It changes the nomenclature to an income withholding notice, that's this document, or an income withholding through other things such as a court order of something. We have previously called it an income deduction order, and that's why this bill is so lengthy. All we're doing is referencing a number of different code sections that involve child support recovery and changing the nomenclature from an income deduction order to an income withholding, which can be a notice such as this, or it could be an order of a court or whatever, but would have to comply with this. And so that's why the bill is lengthy, because every place you can see it striking through income deduction orders and referencing a withholding notice, because that's what's required now by federal law, which is so intricately combined with child support recovery. Because the Child Support Recovery Act folks are funded by federal money, Social Security actions are, and other means. So we're just lining it up through the law. That's the brief overview. It touches on the Child Support Recovery Act, the Family Support Registry, the Uniform Interstate Foreign Support Act, and any other income withholding order that are not issued by OSHA. And I'm willing to answer any questions, or let my phone a friend here answer if it's anything too complicated.
Thank you very much. So basically what you're saying is that every place that it did say income deduction order, it now says income withholding order. Is that
Exactly.
the heart of it?
Yeah, you said that better than I did, and quicker.
Questions from the committee? Ms. Quick, did you have anything to add?
I think Senator Calsert covered it, and I appreciate. I would like to recognize program staff here, Madam Chair, if I could, just a minute. I have Erica Thornton, who's our policy and paternity unit manager, who's here, and my associate general counsel, Byron Cuthbert, who works in this area with the Division of Child Support Services.
Y'all wave to the committee. Okay.
So appreciate that, and we did do just a little code cleanup too. We found some problems in the process. For example, the biggest one I think I put in your one pager, administrative law judges don't issue income deduction orders now, income withholding orders. So when things like that were found, we tried to fix it. Parts of this statute date back to the 90s.
Okay, this is starting to be a lot like Judiciary Committee.
My apologies.
It's a lawyer bill, right? That's why we have a lawyer carrying it. But anyway, and it is a department bill, am I correct?
It is, Madam Chair. It's a DHS bill from the Division of Child Support Services, and at the request of our Special Assistant Attorney Generals, who toil in the vineyards and have boots on the ground, who have to deal with the confusion that exists now because these two documents are required.
Great, thank you. Senator Payne.
I was just going to say at the appropriate time.
Unless there are other questions, I think now's the appropriate time.
Madam Chair, I make a motion that we do pass on LC 570075 and Senate Bill 520.
Is there a second? Second? Any further discussion? Okay, all in favor, raise your hand. Any opposed? Okay, the bill passes unanimously. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Madam Chair.
We are getting very tight on time for other bills, and there are many other committees meeting simultaneously, so just watch the meeting notices as to whether we're going to meet on Thursday. Thank you very much. We're adjourned.